Jake Paul's attorney says he was out of state and not at his Calabasas home during that raid today. The FBI says they're investigating allegations of criminal acts. Today, YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas. Sky 5 was over the scene Wednesday morning as federal agents entered Paul's home in a gated community off Mulholland Highway. 24 feds, some in tactical gear, could be seen carrying evidence from the property, including several firearms. After the search, a SWAT team was seen leaving in a procession of law enforcement.
And yeah, the excuses were predictable: spectacle, entertainment, crossover appeal. But all of that collapses the moment a real champion treats you like a warm-up.
At any point did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, like there was a point where, you know, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever. And I could just tell, you know, his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him. And that like violence war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to, you know, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff. But that kind of went away as the rounds went on.
Joshua didn't celebrate. He didn't flex. He didn't gloat. He looked like a man completing a task he was massively overqualified for. And that's the unsettling part, because it tells you this was never competitive. Not for a second. Not on the best possible day. Not even if everything aligned perfect.
Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was 100% scripted. Mike Tyson repeatedly bit his boxing gloves throughout the fight. When fights are scripted, fighters do weird gestures to signal that they're hurt. It's very possible Mike Tyson was biting on his glove to tell Jake Paul to calm down. Now, if that's not enough proof that this fight was scripted, in the middle of the fight, Mike Tyson is literally talking to Jake Paul while they are clinching.
Now step back and watch how quickly everything accelerated. Within days. The tone shifted. Within weeks. Federal attention stopped being hypothetical because agencies don't move on vibes or online noise. When they move, it's deliberate, calculated, surgical, and the timing wasn't random. That's what sticks with me.
That's definitely a crazy fight because of the weight differences. The weight difference in there, I only know one man that'll do the weight difference like that, and that's the Bronze Bomber. You know, for me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, you know, of the weight difference, and, you know, Joshua is a former, you know, champion. And also, you know, he's current, he's active, you know, and this is going to be the first time that we see Paul, you know, fighting an active fighter. You know what I mean? We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, you know what I'm saying? It's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional.
Someone knew something before the rest of us did. Someone always does. And suddenly, voices that never shut. Up went silent. Analysts, promoters, insiders. Silence gets loud when the stakes spike. Every missing detail feels intentional, like time is being bought. Paperwork buried, calls erased. I'm not naming names yet, but yeah, somebody's sweating. You can feel it in the air.
And any agreement about, hey, you need to get the fight into this round, you need to carry him for X amount of rounds, you need to do your part to get it into the 5th, 6th, or whatever.
Absolutely no way ever. I mean, if you look at a couple of the right hands that AJ missed with in the first couple of rounds, like they would have done the same job on Jake's jaw if they would have landed. And Jake did very well to avoid them. So I always said going into the fight, AJ's not the kind of guy that's going to come out like a train, just start swinging away. He's going to take his time. And that's what he did. You know, the fight definitely went a few more rounds than anticipated from Anthony. But it's like, even now, it's like, yeah, it was definitely a fix. Some guy commented today on one of my posts, yeah, it was definitely a fix. I go, you do know that he's broken his jaw in two.
This is where suspicion turns into pattern. Because once you connect the mismatches, the behavior, the testing gaps, and how the Joshua fight actually ended, it stops looking like misfortune and starts looking like design. And when design collapses, it doesn't fail quietly. It implodes.
Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas. Attorney told Reuters he would cooperate with the federal investigation.
Look like after his boxing career.
People think I do steroids and all this shit, so I have a plan because I think it's fucking bizarre. That's like the only excuse they can come up with is like rigged fights. Jake Paul does steroids. So after boxing, I'm going to do a cycle of steroids to show people what Jake Paul on steroids actually looks like, because I want to shut people the fuck.
That's why this doesn't stop at one loss. It spreads investigations, reputations, careers. Maybe worse. You think the raid was the finale. I don't. It felt like a comma, not a full stop. These stories never drop all at once. They leak, they drip, they destroy slowly. And the most disturbing part is we still don't know who talked first or who's about to. That uncertainty, that's what keeps people awake.
There's never once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant it would take max 2 rounds to knock out Jake Paul.
With that discomfort, because the division didn't just lose a sideshow, it gained a warning. The sport just witnessed what happens when branding collides with reality. And no, this chapter isn't closed, not even close. Something else is coming. You can feel it building, and when it hits, this will look like the warm-up, broken jaws, federal doors kicked in, a legacy bleeding out on a canvas that was never truly his. Rewind for a second, because if you blinked, you missed how fast this detonated. This wasn't a loss. It was an extinction event. And I'm telling you now, this story doesn't slow down. It accelerates. It mutates. It gets ugly. And the people you think are untouchable, they're not safe anymore.
What are your thoughts on Jake going 6 rounds with AJ?
You know, the fact that he did that, it was good because, you know, we didn't think it was going to go 6 rounds. We thought it was going to go 2. So the fact that he made 6 rounds is an accomplishment for Jake Paul.
Was there anything that stuck out with you from the fight?
Yeah, really, who was in better shape? I thought that Joshua was in great shape compared to, you know, Jake Paul, because he was running around the ring.
You guys gotta walk,
and that takes out a lot of energy, especially when you're not used to it.
Everyone keeps saying this came out of nowhere, and that's a lie, a comfortable lie. The warning signs were screaming for years. The moment Anthony Joshua folded Jake Paul like paper, the atmosphere shifted. That punch didn't just drop him. It ripped the mask off the entire operation. Suddenly the whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were sirens. And if you think that knockout was the climax, you're already behind. Let me pull you back for a second, because context matters. 5 years ago, you laughed at the idea these fights felt off. 6 months ago, you raised an eyebrow. The second Joshua refused to play along, the illusion shattered. Real fighters don't pause for narratives. They don't protect brands. They don't wait for cues. And when that reality hit in round 5, the entire sport flinched. Here's the part nobody wants to face: the betting, the money, the oceans of cash moving quietly behind the scenes. Because once gambling enters the picture, this stops being internet noise and becomes federal oxygen. And that's when everything goes silent fast. You don't need a smoking gun when patterns start lining up. Someone in this story is lying. Maybe more than one. And it's not the people watching. You saw it too, even if you didn't want to admit it. The strange pacing, the awkward pauses, those moments that made you tilt your head and think, what was that? Because boxing doesn't look like that when it's clean. And when leaked details start matching what we all witnessed, round by round, the temperature rises. Coincidence doesn't repeat itself that precisely. And yeah, it sounds insane, but insane doesn't mean false.